So this will be our third grammar lesson for Capitulum Octavum, Chapter 8. And what I thought we would do here, I said we would look at hic haec hoc, but I think it'll be more useful, because they didn't have good examples in the textbook, to look at some examples from the Exercitium, which is an exercise that accompanies this chapter here. This is Exercitium 15 for Chapter 8. The Exercitia book has lots and lots of exercises in it. I like to sometimes use these in class. But here what we're going to look at is forms of hic haec hoc, which means this, or in the plural these, and forms of ille, illa, lud, which means that in the singular, or those in the plural. And we're going to look at how these are used in a sentence here. So, number one, what we want to say is this slave is Leander, that slave is Cyrus. So, the word for this slave here, we're going to say hic, because that is the nominative form, hic, H-I-C. And then we want to say that slave is Cyrus, and we want the nominative form here too, because Servus is the subject of the sentence. So I'm going to say Ille. Now, those charts are over in the margin. Now, they are using a different order than what we're used to. They have the nominative, and then the accusative, and then the genitive, dative, ablative after that, and then again they go with the plural, nominative, he, hi, hike, and then accusative, hos, hos, hike, and then genitive, horum, harum, horum, and then the he's, he's is actually the dative and the ablative plural form, right? Okay, but back over to one. So we've got hic servus est Leander, ille, with an E on the end, servus est Cyrus. Number two, we want to say Leander carries this sack. Okay, so this sack will be the direct object, accusative. And then we want to say Cyrus carries that sack. So we want to say that sack as an accusative direct object as well. So if we look at our forms, okay, that's going to be the second row. So hunc is the correct masculine accusative singular form, hunc sacum. And then I go down to the ille forms and I get illum, illum sacum. And notice that illum looks exactly like sacum, right? The endings are the same, and But with hunc sacum, it's a little bit different, because I warned you when we talked about the forms, but essentially you would have started with hum, H-U-M, and then when the C gets added onto the end of the hic haec hoc forms, it turns that M into an N. Okay, looking at number three. Here we want to say this sack is carried by this slave, that, meaning that sack, by that one. Okay, so this sack, hic sacus, nominative, singular, masculine, by this slave. Now we need a masculine ablative singular. If I look at my chart, I see hoc with a long O and a C. Ab hoc servo. And then I want to say that, meaning that sack, is carried. So I want to say ille, nominative, because it's the subject, by that one. So ob takes the ablative, so I want ob illo, long O, ablative case. Number four, sacus huius servi magnus est, the sack of this slave. So huius is a genitive singular to agree with servi. And then I want to say that one's is small, illius, genitive singular again, est parvus. And I think it's a little bit easier to understand these examples if I tell you in English first. So let me see. In number five, it's going to be in this sack there are apples. In that one there are pears. So in this sack, I again want an ablative form to agree with sacco. So I'm going to have hoc, O with a long mark, and then the C on the end. And then I want to say in that one, so that's also going to be ablative. So I'm going to say illo with a long O for the ablative there. Looking at 6, what I want to say is Julius gives this slave an apple, or gives an apple to this slave. He gives a pear to that one, okay, meaning to that slave. So if you look at the context here, I want datives, right? Because this is the to whom I give the things. So if I look at my dative singular forms, I'm going to get huic serwo. And then for the next one, I'm going to get Ille with a long I at the end, dative singular ending. All right, number 7, what I want to say is this woman is Lydia. That woman is Jaripa. So this woman, I'm going to say haik femina. And then I'm going to say illa femina, right? So haik is the nominative singular feminine. Illa is the nominative singular feminine. Number 8, I want to say Matus loves this woman, not that one. All right, so this woman, I need an accusative singular feminine. If I look at my chart, that's the second row, honk. So Matus honk feminamamat. And then non illam, right? Illam again in the second row of that chart. And then number 11, Matus huic femini analum dot non illi. I want to say here, Matus gives a ring to this woman, not to that one. So I want the datives, thus the huic femini, and then non illi. 12, I want to say this bedroom is big, that one is small. So bedroom, cubiculum is a neuter noun, so I need neuter nominative forms, because this is agreeing with the subject of the sentence, cubiculum. So I'm going to say hoc, neuter nominative singular, and then I'm going to say illud, neuter nominative singular. 13, I want to say the window of this bedroom is not so small as that one's, meaning that bedroom's window. So if I look at this, this is to agree with cubiculi, bedroom in the possessive genitive case. So I want huius for the genitive of that, and then I want illius, which also ends with ius, for the genitive of the second word. 14, I want to say Julius and Amelia sleep in this bedroom, not in that one. Okay, so in this, not in that, so I want ablatives in hoc, long O, C, known in illo, with a long O on the end. 15, Lydia wants to say, look at those pieces of jewelry made us, those rings and those gems. Aren't those rings and those gems beautiful? Okay, so illa agreeing with ornamenta, illos agreeing with onolos, illos agreeing with gemos, and then I want illi to agree with onoli, and illi to agree with gemi. So note there, all of these are plural. And as I said when we looked at the forms, the plural forms of these pronouns, these demonstrative pronouns or demonstrative adjectives, have the same kind of endings as we're used to for nouns. So that's why those all ended up looking and sounding the same. Now Albinus, the shopkeeper, says, look at these pieces of jewelry, these rings and these gems. Aren't these rings and these gems beautiful? So again, here we're going to have some similarities. Haik ornamenta, hos onolos, has gemos, he onoli, and hi gemi. Now, out of all of those, the only one that's different was when we said haik ornamenta. So the haik is kind of an odd one out. It looks different from the short A ending of ornamenta. But hos onolos, has gemos, he onoli, and hi gemi, all of those look exactly the same, the endings. All right, 17, Lydia asks, how much is the price of these rings and of these gems? So we want genitive plurals there because we're saying of these. So horum onulorum and harum gemarum. Notice that horum has the same orum ending, harum has the same arum ending as the nouns they describe. Finally, 18, Matus says, neither in these rings nor in those are there gems. So we want to agree with Annalise, so we get his in the first blank. And then we want to say illis for the second, because basically that also means in those rings, right? So we have the is ending again, ablative plural. Well, I hope that made some sense of how we use these, how we see them used in sentences, and that you've learned a few things. These can be overwhelming at first, but the more you see them, the more you get used to them. If you've gotten used to some noun cases, you'll see that these are working very frequently in the same kind of way. Often they even look exactly the same as some of the noun cases we've seen previously. Walete.